What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Jericho Report Weekly News Briefing. It is Sunday, the 2nd of April, 2023. And I assure you this is not some massive April Fool's joke. This is the reality that we're living in. There's no shortage of it this week. As always, the first link below will take you over to the Patreon post. That's where you can find all the madness. Let's just jump right into it. Of course, we got the school shooting down in Nashville, left 3 children and 3 adults dead. I'll put a link to the story. We got cop share, snap of school door, Nashville shooter blasted to gain entry in the vehicle and all this. And there's our shooter right there. I put another link from Nashville PD. They got more pictures here and more stuff going on their Twitter feed. And, of course, the shooter had assault weapons. I'll put a link to that. And I got one more to follow that up with. Nashville school shooter Audrey Hale, rejected by Christian parents who couldn't accept she was gay and trans, as cops reveal she also planned to shoot relatives. Well, you know, if you had a problem with your family not accepting you, then you should have taken it to them, not to innocent kids and people who had nothing to do with it. Coward-ass bitch. Other news going on. CDC to warn some travelers to watch out for the Marburg virus symptoms as it investigates outbreak in Africa. Put a link to this. That's all I had on diseases this week. We have this, though. The World Health Organization now says COVID vaccines not recommended for healthy... What? Listen to what they're saying and just listen to some of this.
What's your reaction about what the WHO has said? They're saying that healthy children and teenagers probably don't need the COVID vaccine. They say the traditional shots are more important.
Yeah, that's right. So the World Health Organization is coming out with their new guidelines. They do say if you're still high risk to get a booster every 6 months to a year. But when it comes to age 6 months of age and up to 17 years of age, that's not recommended for most young teenagers. And that makes sense.
This is the same kind of people that told you in the beginning everyone should get vaccinated because that makes sense. Oh my God, how the story's changing. I'll put a link to this. Look at this. Why would they do this? Certain COVID vaccines might trouble risk of sudden cardiac death in women under 30. I'll put a link to that. New study says U.S. expert panel to meet to determine which adverse effects COVID-19 vaccines cause. What they cause? CDC found COVID-19 vaccine safety signals months earlier than previously known. Put a link to that. Check this out. Now, YouTube staff, before you take my video down for disinformation, this is the World Health Organization's official Twitter feed. Listen to what this bitch is saying. Listen to how they're doing damage control here.
There are a limited number of rare side effects from mRNA vaccines that include mild myocarditis that have been identified. The risk of myocarditis is highest in young males, 12 to 29 years of age. And these, again, are rare side effects. About 40 cases for every 1 million doses that are given. For young females, it's even lower, 10 times lower.
Nothing. Don't say we didn't fucking tell you so. Joe Biden news. Biden makes triumphal exit the wrong way. He's wandering around on the stage like a babbling idiot. You don't know where to go. Oh, no, over here. Secret Service says, over here? No, over there, Mr. President. You're going the wrong way. What? Huh? I don't understand. And we've had a Sasquatch sighting this week. Michelle Obama looks less than impressed after plush restaurant meal with Barack in Sydney. Sorry, not sorry for my language, just like I'm sure YouTube's not sorry for pulling down all of our videos and censoring all of the millions of people that were making videos telling you what the World Health Organization is now starting to admit. Over to financial news, how major U.S. stock indexes fared on the Friday. Looks like the Dow Jones rose 412 points. For the week, the Dow was up over 1,000 points, closed the week at 33,274. Yay, Dow! First, CNN does segment on de-dollarization. Now, Fox News also, what's going on here? Well, these countries are walking away from the dollar, but there's something else going on here. It's called the New World Order. Put a link to that clip, and I'll put a link to this. One world beast system is roaring into reality, but is anyone listening? Are you listening? Does anyone care? Put a link to that. Look at this, 15-minute cities. The people, just like in the movie The Matrix, you know, most of these people will fight for the system. Watch this lady try to go to work in a 15-minute city. She's not allowed to pass, just by the citizens standing there. Watch this.
Hello. Have you got any right to stop here?
Yeah, you'll see this is a no through motor vehicles. This is a motor
Yeah, do you go to work?
Yes, I'm on my way to work.
Your motor vehicle may not pass.
See,
15-minute city.
Yeah, you stay here just all your day.
This is your boundary.
People time.
No, enforcing the traffic law. You're not allowed to drive through here.
So, have you got anything?
I'll put a link to this. This goes on for a while. I don't know if the lady, she gets out of the car and there's a big confrontation. People will, look at this, cars to be banned by 2030 under WEF 15-minute city plan. I don't know this source, but I wouldn't doubt at all that it's absolute truth. Bombshell Vax analysis finds $147 billion in economic damage. $147 billion in economic damage, tens of millions injuries and disabled F0 hedge. Disney plans to cut 7,000 jobs and reward shareholders. It's so sad for Disney to see him go woke, go broke, huh? Cracker Barrel becomes the latest company to flee the Portland area amid rising crime and retail theft at Fox Business. We got China and Brazil strike deal to ditch dollar for trade. We're seeing a lot more of this. A lot of countries walking away from the petrodollar. Put a link to that. Biden, Israel. Look at this, our best friend Israel. He's not apparently he's not invited to the White House anymore because they're having a dispute. Put a link to that from J-Post. A couple more here. Madonna to perform concert in Nashville, but donate the proceeds to trans rights groups. It's right because the shooter is the victim, right? I'll put a link to this. And I got one at the bottom. Be advised, Honda recalls more than 300,000 vehicles due to mirror issues. Over to New World Order and Police State News, where I stop and ask you, please share the report. There's a lot of stuff coming up people need to know about. Of course, with this whole shooting, this has reignited the whole call for assault weapons ban. I got a couple clips here. It's Joe Biden.
So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban.
He's calling, the White House press secretary is calling for it.
How many more children have to be murdered before Republicans in Congress will step up and act?
Put a link to those. We got Hollywood celebrities demand gun control after Tennessee school shooting. Of course they do. Yeah, put a link to that. And we got Democrats demand gun control at Tennessee Capitol, chanting, "No action, no peace." Put a link to it. Other news going on, Donald Trump indicted by Manhattan grand jury. It's certainly going to be an interesting week coming up as he gets arrested. I'll put a link to that. Meanwhile, we got New York Young Republican Club issues statement responding to Trump indictment. This is total war. No, this is total divide and conquer. That's what this is. If you think the New World Order is not in control here. Here we go. Donald Trump running his mouth about the deep state.
Either the deep state destroys America or we destroy the deep state.
Those of you still in denial, let me ask you, what did this man do to destroy the deep state the first time around? And let me ask you something else. Do you think the words will ever come out of this man's mouth, death to the New World Order? You see, because until he says that, this whole deep state bullshit, this is just below the line of being awake type shit right here. I'm sorry, you be in denial if you want. The bill to ban TikTok is absolutely terrifying. This is basically a Patriot Act for the internet. Well, yeah, you think it's about TikTok? No, it's about internet control, baby. That's what it's about. Put a link to that. Trans activists here on the agenda front. Ridiculous, radical religious schools. They're slamming these schools. It's the school's fault. Oh, because yeah, it's the victim. The victim is the shooter is the victim. I'll put a link to this. Look at this now. Look. Trans activist goes on unhinged rant calling trans people in Tennessee to fight. Listen to some of this.
Trans people in Tennessee, it's time to fucking fight. Trans allies in Tennessee, it's time to fucking fight.
This goes on for like 3 minutes.
Trans women, if they lock you up for identifying as a woman, fight, resist. You're gonna die anyways. We're going to die anyways. It's time to fucking resist. Fight them. Hurt them. If they put their hands on you, beat them.
Do you realize what would happen if it was one of us making a video like that? We'd have all kinds of 3-letter agencies knocking on our door. Other news going on, we got the White House press secretary pouring her heart out to the trans community.
And one of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken.
What about the kids that were killed? What about the innocent people that were killed? No, the trans people are the victims. Biden says transgender Americans shape our nation's soul. I mean, what the fuck is going on here? Over to World War III news. MI5 raises terror threat in Northern Ireland is severe. I had like 20 or 30 people send me this when it happened. You want to look for that to go critical, but good looking out. Yeah, the MI5 raising terror level definitely raises an eyebrow, and you guys watched enough of my videos to know what that means. If it goes critical, I recommend getting away from major cities. Keep an eye on it. Caught red-handed, Russian nuke submarine snooped on critical U.S. European gas and telecom pipeline. Put a link to that. NBC News did a report of it off of off of Norway's coast, I think.
Video from the Norwegian Air Force of what it says is a Russian nuclear submarine's periscope peeking above the water, right over Norway's oil and gas pipeline.
Put a link to that. Speaking of that, we had an explosion. I don't know the source, but apparently a natural gas pipeline somewhere in central Russia. Don't know if that's World War III related. Just want to throw it in there. Russia stops sharing information about nuclear forces with the U.S. That's an updated article. We got Germany to expel 30 Russian diplomats as spying fears ratchet. Put a link to that. We got Daily Mail. Swedes to be sent to their deaths if they join NATO, Moscow says. Put a link to that. We also got Scandal rocks Moscow. Elite after prominent Putin cronies are heard calling the Russian leader Satan and dwarf. Link to that. U.S. tensions with Iran reignite as dollar petrocurrency status under threat. That's a new article there. Kim Jong-un threatens nuclear use anytime as U.S. carrier arrives in the South Korea for drills. And I got a couple more here. Should U.S. send troops to fight Mexican drug cartels? It's not a good idea. I don't know. And I got one in related news. 9 soldiers killed in Army Black Hawk helicopter in crash in Kentucky. Rest in peace. Over to Earth changes in 2012 news. Look at the earthquake set up for 6 points and above past week. We had a 6.3 on the 30th. South Pacific Ocean, North Pacific Ocean, a 6.0 on the 28th, 6.1 on the 27th, and the Solomon Sea. Put a link to the earthquake data. A lot of 5s running around the area too. We got definitely the big news this week. Powerful tornado struck Little Rock, Arkansas. Weather Channel has stuff on this. We got tornado outbreak all over the southern United States, the Midwest. In St. Louis, we had 70-mile-an-hour winds, just knocking shit down, knocking down power poles and trees. And man, I feel for the people who were in the wake of the tornadoes. You know, what we got here was just a little wind, a little bit of damage, but some people lost everything, man. My heart goes out to everybody affected. Dozens of grass fires ignited down in Oklahoma City because of the high winds. Caught neighboring houses on fire, just crazy winds. Put a link to that. Out in the west, we got Utah's record snowpack. The snow still stacking up out west. Hopefully they can put some of this water into Lake Mead and refill some of the reservoirs that we know need it. Put a link to that. Down in Tampa, we got Tampa police trapping nearly 10-foot alligator on Howard Avenue. Num, 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 num. Put a link to that. We got water being monitored in Henderson after barge incident in Louisville, Kentucky. Be advised, broken barge, spilling out toxic chemicals. 70-car train derails in another train derailment, spills hazardous materials. Although the pictures are a little deceiving, these are from East Palestine, Ohio. If you scroll down here, everything they got here is from Palestine, Ohio. I don't know why, but I guess they didn't have any good footage of them. But we did have another train derailment. We also got over in the UK cleanup underway after 200-barrel fluid leak over in one of their ports. Put a link to that. Video shows guards walking away during fire that killed 38. I guess there was a huge fire at a migrant camp or something down in Mexico. I guess they set their mattresses on fire, killed a lot of people. On the moon, we got new source of water found on moon samples. The China mission might not matter anyway because second giant hole has appeared on the sun. It could send 1.8 million mile-per-hour solar winds toward the Earth. Over to strange and bizarre news. Got a bunch of strange news this week. U.S. vet James Vasquez, who allegedly fought in Ukraine, calls out random dude on the subway. Catches the fists of fury. I guess there's problems. I don't know if this is in New York or what this is. Let me fast forward this a little bit. They get him off the train. And I guess a fight ensues outside the train. Apparently at the 42nd Street station, maybe. I think he kind of gets his ass kicked. So there's madness on the subway. There's madness at the Starbucks up in Vancouver. This was originally a Twitter link, but when I clicked on it, the video was gone. So the fact that this happened in broad daylight, Vancouver Starbucks stabbing video sparks concern online. Scroll down here, the guy just got stabbed to death at the Starbucks. Right out in the open. Senator Rand Paul, staffer, was stabbed as well in D.C., apparently brutally attacked. Put a link to that. We got this woman beats herself with a hammer to frame boyfriend for abusing her, and it worked until her friend released this footage. Sick bitch. I'll put a link to it. This guy right here, Cleveland man, gets prison for calling wrong number, leaving messages seeking human to kill he wanted to have his son killed, and he's leaving messages on the hitman's machine, only it's the wrong number. So I mean, I'll put a link to it. Iowa teen flips on classmate who agrees to testify against him at trial after the duo beat their Spanish teacher to death over a bad grade. That from the Daily Mail. We got humans will achieve immortality in 8 years, says former Google engineer. Do you really think that's a smart idea with where humanity is at the moment? Put a link to it. The chatbot, not that they have something to say about it, Belgian man dies by suicide following exchanges with chatbot. Put a link to that. Speaking of that, look at this. ChatGTP says men who don't date a woman with a penis are bigots. I'm a bigot. I admit it. I'll put a link to that. We got transgender woman posts sobbing selfie at JFK bathroom after claiming female TSA agent punched her in the testicles, left her in extreme pain. She punched my testicles, oh noes. Transgender woman 54 who was convicted of rape in 1998 when she was still a man, stabs another trans woman trying her to a chair with tights and stealing her cash. And I got one at the bottom. I can't play this video because it's too graphic for YouTube. This is a person walking around with apparently a penis, and I just put a link to, I don't know. This look, this video contains graphic warning. This should never be accepted ever. I'll put a link to it. I don't know what's going on with humanity, man. That's all I got. For all the news, please check my favorite videos. All kinds of fresh footage over there. Downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, the tornado footage. Walk Like a Joe Biden, little music video there somebody put together, pretty funny. Gwyneth Paltrow apparently was not convicted of running that guy off the ski slope, and the guy's ordered to pay her $1 and I think her attorney's fees maybe. And my next, protesters rally in Tennessee, state capitol, gun reform. This guy, man, jumps out of stolen CHP cruiser during high-speed police chase. 50 miles an hour, jumps out. He later died. Put a link to it. And, you know, check out my favorite, all kinds of fresh, thank you to everybody who continues to post content, keeping everybody informed. You guys are doing awesome work. I got a few shout-outs this week. Shout out to Florida. Florida okays bill to carry concealed guns without a permit. Right on. I'll put a link to that. Shout out to this Christmas cards. Oh, this is last year's Christmas cards from Tennessee Rep, Republican who represents the district that the school was in. Oh, how dare they? How dare they? Shout out to this Christmas card of this family enjoying their Second Amendment right. And shout out to the Nashville Police for their response. You know, it may seem like, oh, the last shout out contradicts this one. No, it doesn't. Not at all. You know, the police department in Nashville did a kick-ass job. It reminds me of the shooting we had here a few months back over here in St. Louis, where the St. Louis City Police did the exact same thing. There was none of this gathering outside the building. They went right in there and they put that motherfucker on his back. I gotta give a shout out to them. And there's some people saying, oh, this video is fake and this whole thing's staged. You know, live in the reality you want to live in, man. You know, I don't live in Nashville, but I do live in St. Louis, and the shit that happened here was not fake because I watched it happen right in front of me. Anyway, shout out to the Nashville Police. I think they did an awesome job. That's all I got for this week, guys. If you like the report, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you think it sucked, you disagree with everything, and just like, what is this crazy guy saying? Thumbs it down. I appreciate it. If you thumbs it up or down, it helps me move around. I appreciate it. You can also follow me on all my links below. Facebook, Twitter, Gab, BitChute, Rumble. All the links are at the bottom. You can support me on Patreon or directly with DonorBox. How many people actually pull up the Patreon link every week? You know, you don't have to pay to go see the links. I post everything on Patreon for free. I'm just hoping maybe, you know, people like my work. Maybe they'll want to support me. But I have no paid content on Patreon, and I'm proud of that. That's all I got. Please tell me your thoughts on what's going on in the world. I'm doing better. By the way, thanks for all of the well wishes on last week's video. I still got a little bit of a runny nose, still got a little bit of a cough, but I'm definitely on the other side of it. I mean, you can probably tell that. I'm just about 80, 90%. I'll be ready to roll this next week. What's coming? The Donald Trump arrest, you know, make some popcorn, you know, definitely don't get caught up in all of the division, you know, if you're truly awake, then you see what's going on. You know, we got all the tornadoes. My thoughts, prayers go out to everybody who's been affected by, man, all of the southern states, the Midwest. Like I said, we had 70+ mile an hour winds in St. Louis. Our power was out for a little while this morning. Our power stayed on during the windstorm, but some lines were damaged down the alley, so they had to turn off the grid in order to make the repairs. So we were without power about less than an hour today. Amber and Yui, shout out to Amber and Yui for doing a great job getting the power back up for everybody. Tell me your thoughts. What's coming? I don't know, but it's been another week of madness. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a few minutes on a Sunday while I give you the news. You guys take care, stay safe. I love you very much. Remain vigilant, always. I will see you on the next one.